First of all, I want to thank you, the great people of Central New York, for coming out today to this great event. As you just heard, I'm a clinical psychologist. I am trained in the assessment and treatment of psychological disorders such as depression, anxiety disorders, substance use disorders, eating disorders. These disorders are more common than you think. So I want you to raise your hand if you know someone who has a psychological disorder. Now keep your hands raised. Keep your hands raised and look around. Look at all the people who have their hands raised.
He's the president.
This is true.
So sad.
Research indicates that 1 in 5 adults will be diagnosed with a psychological disorder in their lifetime. That's about 20% of the population. These are not rare. They are not things that happen to other people. They affect all of us. Psychological disorders are behaviors, emotions, and thoughts that cause a person distress. They affect your relationships with your family and friends. They affect your ability to go to work, to be productive, to go to school, to perform well at school. As you can see, these symptoms don't just impact the individual. They impact the family, friends, and the environments in which they live. I want you to imagine that today you woke up and you had no desire to get out of bed. You felt extremely tired, hopeless, sad. You spent the day crying. Imagine that you felt worthless, as if nothing you did was any good. Maybe these thoughts and feelings have stopped you from hanging out with family, friends, from doing the things that you enjoy. Maybe it's gotten so bad that you don't want to leave the house. Maybe you've even stopped bathing. Perhaps it's even gotten to the point where you don't any longer feel like living. This is an example of what an episode of depression can feel like. What is particularly concerning is that we're seeing the rates of depression and anxiety disorders soaring among our youth. In 2015, an estimated 3 million teenagers in the United States had an episode of depression in the past year. That's 12.5% of U.S. teenagers. And that rate is higher among females. When we look at something like anxiety disorders, 25% of U.S. teenagers will have an anxiety disorder at some point in their lifetime. 1 in 4 teenagers. That's your son, your daughter, your friend, your niece, your nephew, your grandchild.
Godson.
Your godson. Scientists are trying to understand why are these rates increasing in this population. Science is absolutely critical to the field of clinical psychology. Science helps us understand what these disorders are, how long a disorder will last, what we can predict in terms of functioning. Science helps us understand the causes of disorders. Is it a certain gene that's causing this disorder? Is it something that's going on in the environment? Important, science helps us figure out how to help these individuals who have psychological disorders. There are things called evidence-based treatments or empirically supported treatments. These are treatments that have been found by large research studies and supported with scientific evidence to reduce the symptoms of psychological disorders and increase the quality of people's lives. These are the treatments we want to continue to develop for those affected with psychological disorders. And over here we have a sign. I think there's a sign. And if you go to this website, you can figure out what the evidence-based treatments are for various psychological disorders. I'm sure my time is up now, but I want to leave you with one final thought. If you or a loved one experienced the symptoms I mentioned before, you felt hopeless, debilitated by your psychological symptoms, your thoughts and emotions, would you be interested in knowing what science says about your psychological condition?
Not everybody, Frank. Not everybody.
Would you be interested in knowing what science says about your prognosis, what you can expect in terms of your functioning? And would you want a treatment that science has been found to be effective? I know I would, and this is why we must all stand for science. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jamie.